Good afternoon, everyone. It's a pleasure to be with you here today as we prepare for the start of a long and awaited school year. Out of our deep respect for our Indigenous people in Canada, we acknowledge that all Toronto Catholic District School Board properties are situated upon traditional territories. We also recognize the contributions and enduring presence of all First Nations, Métis and Inuit people in Ontario and the rest of Canada. The Toronto Catholic District School Board is committed to providing our students with a well-rounded education, guided by Catholic values and welcoming environment that nurtures student success and well-being. We have faced many challenges in 2020, and there will certainly be challenges ahead. By working together, we can ensure our students receive the education they deserve in a supportive environment. I'd just like to mention, I recall years ago, I represented this part of Etobicoke, along with former trustee and Anderchuk, and now represented by my colleague, Mr. Marcus Di Domenico. We have all looked forward to this announcement for a long time. This announcement certainly shows us how committed to education, to communities, and to the hardworking people of this government is in making sure that students, staff, parents are as safe as possible in today's environment. I would like now to welcome our very important guests that have joined us today. Our Honourable Doug Ford, Premier of Ontario, the Honourable Stephen Lecce, Minister of Education, and the Honourable Kinga Surma, Associate Minister of Transportation and local MPP for Etobicoke Centre, and along with my dear trustee colleague, Marcus Di Domenico, Trustee Ward 2. And now I invite the Honourable Doug Ford, Premier, if he would like, along with Minister Lecce, to come forward and share the latest news with all of us. Welcome and thank you, Premier.
Thank you. Great. Well, first of all, thank you, Chair Martino. Well, good afternoon, everyone, and it's great to be here in beautiful Etobicoke with Minister Lecce, our all-star Education Minister, Chair Martino, and Trustee Marcus Di Domenico. And Marcus, you're doing a great job here from the Toronto Catholic District School Board. And I can tell you folks, it's so easy and so nice to deal with the Catholic School Board here in Etobicoke. I also want to take a moment to recognize our local champions, Minister Kinga Surma and MPP Christine Hogarth. You're both doing an incredible job, as well as Deputy Mayor Halday, Councillor Ford. By the way, Councillor Ford's one of my favorite councillors, just to let you know, and Councillor Grimes. I know they've all been working around the clock to deliver results for the people of Etobicoke. That includes advancing another milestone last week with the RFP for tunneling work for along Eglinton Crosstown West Extension project, which again, my friends, other elected officials before us said it would never ever get done. Well, we're getting it done, and it's exciting news. This will provide better rapid transit options for Etobicoke residents. That also includes a new long-term care facility with 320 more beds by the end of 2021, thanks to our great partners at Humber River Hospital. And our government is providing $28 million over the 4 years to combat gun and gang violence in our city, including recently supporting the Toronto Police Services project, Engage, to intervene earlier with our young people. Investing in our young people is so important. They're the future of this province. We need to make sure they have every opportunity to excel. We need to remove the barriers that prevent them from reaching their full potential. And it starts with getting a good education. Our vibrant community here in Etobicoke is growing. We want parents to see this community as a place where their kids have access to good schools, a place where students can flourish and chart a path to success. Last month, our government announced a $500 million investment to build 30 brand new schools and expand 15 existing schools across our great province. This is part of the government's commitment to provide $12 billion for new and existing schools over 10 years. We want to build modern classrooms with access to high-speed internet, air conditioning, heating systems, and accessible ramps and elevators, because our kids deserve the absolute best learning environment we can give them. As part of that investment, I'm excited to announce today we're investing almost $16 million to build a new Catholic elementary school right here in Etobicoke. This new school will serve up to 600 kids with the support of the amazing staff at the Toronto Catholic District School Board. The project will also create 88 new affordable childcare spaces to help parents in the area. As part of our government's commitment to add 30,000 childcare spaces over 5 years, 10,000 of them in new schools just like this one. Today, we're laying strong foundation for our children's future. We're building a better education system, one that will equip our students with the skills to succeed in the modern economy, including hands-on learning in skilled trades, basic math skills, financial literacy, and coding. Regardless of race, religion, or background, every child should have a good start in life. Every child should have a solid foundation for success as we prepare them for the jobs of the future. And that's all that a parent could ask for. Thank you, and God bless the people of Ontario. Now I'll hand it over to Minister Lecce.
Well, good afternoon. I want to thank the City of Toronto and the Toronto Catholic District School Board for welcoming us here today. Of course, I want to give a shout out to our trustee, Marcus. Thank you and your lovely wife for joining us today. To local councillor Michael Ford, it's a pleasure to be with you. And of course, to the Premier, I will lead with him, but the real all-stars working so hard for the students and for the next generation. My colleague, Kinga Surma, Christine Hogarth, incredibly hardworking advocates for their students and for their parents. And I'm really grateful to serve with you to make a difference for the next generation. I know just how much school means to communities like we have here in Etobicoke, and to students and families, teachers and staff members. Schools are the heart of our communities. They are centers of discovery, of learning, and social development. As we continue our recovery efforts from COVID-19, it's essential that we ensure we remain steadfast in our mission to be a province where everyone can succeed, with our younger generation front and center of this mission. For many communities, they need better schools with, as the Premier noted, access to high-speed internet, proper ventilation, state-of-the-art learning facilities. Our students deserve no less. It's why in July, our government announced that we are investing in the future of young people with a school infrastructure investment of over $500 million to build new schools, to renovate existing schools, and to expand childcare spaces for working moms and dads. These dollars are part of a much larger investment of over $12 billion in capital grants over the next 10 years. It is supported by over $1.4 billion in maintenance funding, ensuring our schools are up to date and safe. New schools, major school additions, and nearly 900 childcare spots. We are supporting our parents and the next generation. We know that parents have been loud and clear here in Etobicoke, who haven't seen a new Catholic school in their new neighborhood in quite some time. And I have to acknowledge the incredible work of King and Christine for their advocacy, for standing up for their constituents every single day and ensuring the funding flows where it is needed most. Our schools lay the groundwork for student success. We ensure they get the most out of their educational experience, enabling them to get into college, university, and to the skilled trades. This all starts in our schools. Today's announcement is about giving our students, not just in Etobicoke, but right across the province, the best starting ground possible, and ensuring that schools remain the cornerstone of thriving communities across the province. We're also working closely with our school boards to ensure these neighborhoods with higher rates of transmission receive additional supports to ensure we keep our kids safe. So we're pleased to see that by working with school boards, we're making those investments, additional investments to reduce the risk in targeted communities like here in Etobicoke. And I'm proud to be here in Etobicoke, celebrating this landmark investment in our students. I know that many students and families will benefit from this investment for generations to come. Thank you, merci, and I'll turn it over to MPP and Minister Kinga Surma.
Good afternoon, and thank you so much, Minister Lecce. We are so happy to have you here with us. It's an honor for me to welcome both the Premier and Stephen Lecce, the Minister of Education, to our wonderful community. As the MPP for Etobicoke Centre, I speak with hardworking parents all the time. They tell me constantly that our community needs new schools and new childcare spaces. Today's announcements show our government is listening to Etobicoke families, and we are delivering on their behalf with modern classrooms to accommodate 600 students and 5 childcare rooms, 1 for infants, 2 for toddlers, and 2 for preschool. That will provide 88 childcare spaces. The new Buttonwood Elementary School will be critical in addressing the needs of children and families right here in Etobicoke Centre. This new school is severely needed to match the steady population growth this neighborhood has experienced. New schools are an important priority for my constituents, and so I sincerely thank Premier Ford and Minister Lecce for putting Etobicoke families first and for making today's announcement possible. Thank you very much.
Well, Christine, before we start, I'll tell folks a little story. Being in Etobicoke, I always used to hang out in this area. Our family home, as many of you have been to, is down the street, and what memories, man! I came back here, and it's. I remember going to summer camp here when I was 12 years old. So that's a long time. An old guy like me, 12 years old, just do the math. So, anyways, it's nice to be back in the school that I spent a summer in grade 6 at. But anyways, we're ready.
We'll go to the phone line for questions. Just a reminder that it's one question and one follow-up, please.
Yep.
Your first question comes from Ashley Lagasek with News Talk 1010. Please go ahead.
Hi, Ashley.
Hi, Premier. Thanks for taking my question.
Thank you.
Last week, we asked you about the problem with not enough school bus drivers ready to work. That came after the Ontario School Bus Driver Association said COVID-19 has caused a backlog at the Ministry of Transportation, with many first-time drivers still waiting to be licensed. You said you would personally look into this and get back to us. So what have you found? And perhaps Associate Minister Surma could speak to this as well.
Sure, not a problem at all. Now, every single year we hear the same story, and I understand that we're in a shortage. Before COVID, we saw the same thing last year. I did speak to the ministry and asked them to expedite it. They said they're going to expedite all of the people that are waiting to go through the Minister of Transportation, and that's exactly what we're doing. And I'll give you an exact number because I'm a strong believer. You can't manage unless you measure, and I'll get an exact number for you, and we'll get back to you for sure today. But we're all over that. And thank you for that question, because it really spurs us on when I get questions from the media, and they're really good questions too. Then we jump on this. But we'll have enough school buses. We're putting over $1 billion into the transportation system, more than we've ever put ever in the history of Ontario. So what I'm going to do, I'll hand it over to the Minister of Education because it falls under his domain, but I'll also hand it over to the Minister of Transportation as well. So Minister Lecce, if you can come up here first, that'd be great.
Well, thank you, Premier. Yes, we are working collaboratively with the Ministry of Transportation just to make sure we support what has been a long-standing challenge in government when it comes to accessing and retaining hardworking, incredibly decent bus drivers across the province. These folks work hard, they're often older, and they really need as much support from government as possible. And as the Premier noted, yes, we are investing $1 billion in transportation, $20 million more than we did the year prior. It is the highest investment in transportation in Ontario history. And with respect to the challenges specifically for COVID, given that they're older workers and there's some concerns related to their health, we have provided guidance to school boards to ensure the full suite of PPE, not just masks, including face shields, are provided to our drivers, that there is a mandate, like there is in schools, for masking for students that go on it. There's assigned seating, which is really critical for contact management and tracing. Obviously, we're doing everything possible, providing very clear guidance, updated in July, that's going to make these experiences on school buses more safer for the kids and ultimately for the drivers. But when it comes to retaining talent, we are going to be there for our school boards as we have. That's why we put $40 million in new money, which can be used largely for cleaning supplies, but also to provide, a few extra bucks to our drivers who are doing additional work. We're providing that latitude to our school boards to do that, just to do whatever it takes to support our drivers and ultimately get our kids to school safely every day.
Thank you very much, Minister Lecce. And just to add to his comments, the additional funding for the additional cleaning, we're certainly collaborating with the Ministry of Education and actively working on this right now. But in saying that, Metrolinx, the CEO of Metrolinx, Phil Verster, has been very clear that certainly Metrolinx wants to contribute and help wherever possible. And so we certainly have that resource of assigning Metrolinx drivers and deploying them where they're needed. This has happened in the past when we needed drivers for additional testing in Windsor-Essex area. And so we'll certainly work with Minister Lecce on this.
Follow-up?
That's great.
Thank you.
I gotta ask you a question. Usually, I always pride myself on our team getting back to the media because I tell them nothing's more critical. When they ask a question, let's get back to them. Did Ivana not give you a call back? Because she's pretty good at that. But if she didn't, we'll make sure she calls you because she's an all-star, Ivana. But either way, I just want to make sure. It's critical that we get back to the media. It's absolutely critical, and we'll have a chat there. But
Thank you. I appreciate that, Premier.
Thank you.
My next question is still also about school buses. Obviously, today, Unifor had an event in Scarborough. They said they have 5 key demands that they want the province to address before back to school actually happens, and say that they haven't gotten the chance to meet with the Education Minister yet. So I guess 2 parts to my question. The first, Minister Lecce, will you commit right now to speaking with school bus driver representatives before the school year starts to hear them out? And the second, why exactly hasn't the province implemented a blanket approach to safety regulations on school buses?
well, I'll let the minister answer this.
Well, let me just correct the record. We have been in constant contact with the School Bus Association of Ontario, with Nancy, their president. We are in constant contact with a variety of our stakeholders on the front line, and we're very grateful for the work they're doing and the advocacy they're doing for their members, who many often are our friends and people we know in our communities. And we just want to make sure they feel supported, which is why we've had contact with them. It's why we have ensured, listening to the request, an additional $40 million in new funding is being provided to school boards and to the operators themselves, making sure that those funds flow to support school bus driver on PP and just make sure that our buses are clean for our kids, which is a dual priority we have. And we're going to continue to be there for them. I mean, look, we have increased investment in transportation before COVID-19 hit our province and country, and we've increased the investment thereafter, because I think what we're demonstrating is busing is critical for families in rural and remote parts of the province. And we recognize for many parents, single parents, folks in rural parts, I mean, they need busing to get their kids to school. And we're going to make sure that those buses are there, they are safe, with the access to a talent pool of labor that can do the job, working with Metrolinx, working with the Ministry of Transportation, working with the private sector to do whatever it takes to get access to those workers, knowing that we have had a long-standing challenge in Ontario for many years. Well before COVID, we have had this challenge. I think many provinces face challenges accessing skilled labor and bus drivers, but we're doing more this year than we did in the past, and we'll continue to be there for our boards just to demonstrate that we care and that we'll ensure safety of our kids getting to school in September.
Next question.
Your next question comes from Brian Lilly with the Toronto Sun. Please go ahead.
Hi, Brian.
Sorry, it was on mute. Hi, Premier. My question's for you and for Minister Lecce.
Yep.
You've got the ads talking about the back-to-school program for COVID-19. Liberal leader Stephen Lecce is calling them propaganda and vanity ads. The NDP is denouncing them. The teachers' unions are saying, and the NDP are saying this is money that should be spent on cleaners, on more teachers. So I'm wondering, why are you running the ads, and why haven't you followed through on the campaign promise to give power back to the Auditor General to vet these ads and approve them?
Well, first of all, everything is going to be transparent. The Accountability Office is going to have all these numbers, but maybe I'm wrong, but I think it's so important to communicate with parents. You know, I'm not into the politics that the others are into. I want to make sure that the message is communicated, because I hear, you know, the media gets on here, and I find it ironic. They'll get on and say, you know, the communication. People are confused, so on and so forth. It's critical that the parents know. You know, it's not about playing politics like the other ones are doing. I believe in communicating to the parents the teachers, and as well to the students. And I'm going to take it one step further. I'm going to get on the line. I've asked Minister Lecce, along with our Secretary of Cabinet, along with my Chief of Staff, that I want to get on the phone, a call with all the school board chairs. I mentioned this to Chair Martino as well, all the school board chairs across the province, their deputy chairs, the directors of education, and we're going to lay out very, very clear, and we're going to answer any questions until there's no confusion. No one's going out there and saying it hasn't been communicated. Every single week, by the way, the minister and the education team gets on the calls. I believe it's every Thursday with all the chairs across the province. But I think communication's critical. Maybe they don't. I think communication's critical to the people. And we're going to continue communicating the message, no matter if it was at the beginning about PPE, about social distancing, about long-term care, or if it's about education. We're going to continue moving forward on that.
Follow up?
Yeah, I'd like to directly to Minister Lecce this time. News Talk 1010 did a story on the tweets aimed at you that were posted after you had posted photos of being at a wedding on the weekend. I believe your caucus colleague Stan Chow's wedding. Right. It was described by a cyberbullying expert that they talked to as classic cyberbullying and unbecoming of teachers. How do you react to the some of the vitriol that you experience, and are you shocked that people that are supposed to teach kids about cyberbullying and how that they shouldn't do it are in fact engaged in it?
Yeah, look, I think what's important is that for political actors, they get into government, that they have a duty, a solemn obligation just to get up in the morning every day and try to improve the quality of life, the safety of their constituents. I am unmoved from my task, notwithstanding the noise on Twitter. I have a very important responsibility, one that I'm honored to serve as a generational politician, someone that cares deeply about the next generation. I'm not going to be in any way detracted from the mission, the mandate the Premier has given me, and the opportunity to serve 2 million young people and give them every opportunity to succeed in a very changing competitive global landscape. So, I do think as leaders, which we all are, we have to lead by example. And I think people are looking to us for that sense of leadership and decency and civility in the public discourse. But look, I am focused with one mission, which is to make sure our kids are safe in September. And I'm not going to be deterred from that, to be quite frank.
Next question.
Your next question comes from Sean Jeffords with the Canadian Press. Please go ahead.
Hi, Sean.
Good afternoon, Premier. I wanted to follow up on Brian's first question there about the advertising. How much does that piece of the COVID-19 campaign cost taxpayers? And again, to what Brian was raising there, is that money not better spent on the classroom and hiring additional teachers right now?
Well, first of all, there's an ongoing tally per se, and it's all going to be transparent at the end of this because we started a campaign right at the beginning, making sure that we inform the people about social distancing, making sure that they self-isolate, so on and so forth. So it's not one particular amount for education versus long-term care or so on and so forth, but it's going to be transparent. But I think it's so important that we communicate with the people. That's critical, and we won't stop communicating. And I think that's the key to the success of Ontario and the residents here, that they've listened. Imagine if we didn't have any ads and no one knew what was going on. That'd be terrible. We have to. And that's the same with the federal government, municipal government. So all three levels of government are running ads, and I encourage it. Matter of fact, I find it ironic because we're spending tons of money with the media, which they're in desperate need of, because so many people pulled back their advertising, and a lot of media outlets thanked us, and especially in the ethnic media as well, about putting money in advertising. I think it's absolutely critical, and we're going to continue doing it. But again, it's going to be fully transparent, and everyone's going to see the amount that we spent to keep the province safe and the people safe.
Follow up?
Premier, is this campaign an acknowledgement, even a tacit acknowledgement, that with all of the changes that have taken place to this province's education plan over the past few months, that the government has failed to clearly communicate what is going on in the schools. Now it has to turn to advertising to try to reinforce that message.
Before I pass it over to Minister Lecce, you know something? I think this province has done an incredible job. They showed me these figures again that I talk about. These are updated figures. We are so far ahead of everyone else in North America. It's staggering. And just because you asked me that, I'm going to put a big chart up tomorrow. And I'm going to show you how far the people of Ontario have come. Not the government, the people of Ontario. I think everyone's done an incredible job. I think municipalities, all 444 of them. I think the federal government's done a great job. I believe all the premiers have done a great job. And vast majority of the people are all pulling in the same direction. You get the odd bad apple that wants to cause problems, which I guess it's just politics. But I just ignore those people. I focus on the 99.9% of the people that are all grateful because we all work together and we're all pulling in the same direction. And we've done incredibly well as a province, as a people. And I can't wait to show everyone the chart because you can't manage unless you measure. And you'll see how much further we head of the rest of the world. It's staggering when they showed me these numbers. Anyways, thank you. I'll pass it over to the minister.
Thank you very much. First off, the basis of our advertisement campaign is about informing parents about the important steps we're taking to keep kids safe. I mean, as the Premier noted, during every pandemic, every form of challenge, H1N1, I mean, anytime there's a public health risk, the Government of Ontario, Canada, and the municipality steps up immediately to try to change behavior, to inform citizens and arm them with the best information to keep them safe so that personal responsibility can prevail, so that they can do these things in their homes, in their businesses, in their places of work. We all have that obligation. And when we're talking about 2 million kids going into schools, yes, we need to make sure that information is disseminated to every parent, every educator, every staff, every grandparent and caregiver. Everyone needs to know how they could play a role to keep their children and really broadly our community safe. So that's the basis for it. All of the information related to it will be released through the normal budgeting process that is normal within the province. Just on the question of the Auditor General, these ads not only abide by the Auditor General's current practice, before the former Liberal government stripped her of those authorities, they still respect the old version of the AG rules, meaning this is the highest standard. It is based on public information to keep kids safe and students and their families safe. And so we're going to continue to make every effort possible to inform the public how they could play a role so that we can really make sure we continue, as the Premier noted, to flatten that curve, to do the amazing work people in Ontario are doing, which is keeping the community transmission risk low, which will enable our kids to go to school in a few short weeks.
Next question.
Your next question comes from Travis Danraj with Global News. Please go ahead.
Travis, I apologize.
Hi there, Premier. How are you doing?
Travis, bear with me for a minute. Going back to his previous question, the Auditor General approved the ads, not once, twice. So anyways, I just wanted to add that as well. So the Auditor General is involved every step of the way. But go ahead, Travis.
Okay, Premier, yeah, on the ads. So I know that you just said, and the Minister went on for some time saying that this is about communicating. I have one of the ads in front of me right now, the print ad. It's pretty vague. It says on school cleaning, for example, school cleaning will be enhanced. That doesn't tell parents very much. So I'm just wondering if you can comment on that. And also, very specifically, can you give a dollar figure of how much taxpayer money was spent on this ad campaign?
Well, going back to what I said earlier, Travis, I'll just repeat what I said again. We have a campaign from the beginning of COVID, and it's been instrumental, this campaign, to make people aware of the protocols and the guidelines. And at the end of the day, Travis, it worked, and it's going to continue working, making sure that we inform parents, and ads will change as we move forward. They'll continue to change and get updated based on the timing of the schools and so on and so forth. But if you're recommending, you know, not to run ads, I'm not too sure what you're recommending, but I think it's critical that we inform the people, we inform the parents. I think it's a no-brainer. It'd be terrible if we didn't run ads. You'd be asking me the other question. Well, why aren't you running ads? Why aren't you informing people? Sometimes you just can't win. Running ads is the right thing to do. We're going to continue running ads.
Follow up.
Okay. To be clear, I'm not promoting or not promoting the ad. I just want to ask a second question to Minister Lecce on the Toronto District School Board. The TDSB Chair, Alexander Brown, has just put out an open letter to you, which I don't know if you've had a chance to look at yet, but they are asking for further funding for supports needed. It seems as though these are pretty basic things like increasing staffing to allow boards to reduce class sizes, more money for repairs and maintenance budgets so that they can renovate indoor classrooms and allow for proper ventilation, having bathrooms equipped with touchless hand washing stations, etc. Will you fund the asks from the TDSB, and have you looked at this letter yet?
Yeah, thank you, Travis, and welcome back. We missed you over here in the government, but I'll just say in the letter there's a few components. I did glance at it very briefly. It was shared with me before I came out today. They had requested full funding for PPE. We have been very clear we will be there. We have procured masks. In fact, just earlier I was at one of the housing centers to send off the last shipment of PPE, of masks and hand sanitizer to school boards. Really exciting to see that work being done in real time. We have provided that funding for them, and we will continue to be there for them, for our bus drivers, for our school educators and staff. They've also asked to permit outdoor classes. We have been clear in our guidance. We're encouraging education to be done outside, particularly in September and October as weather permits it. Get kids out there, knowing the importance of ventilation, in the area of ventilation. The province just recently announced an additional $50 million. Travis, to the point related to rebuilding and renovating schools on an annual basis, every single year under this government, we're allocating $1.4 billion in maintenance and renewal funding. And we've actually told boards, we've signaled to boards well before we announced the $50 million for ventilation to get going and get their HVAC systems upgraded with the best mobile filtration units for those portables that are required with those older classrooms, and upgraded filtration systems for the HVAC systems themselves. But that's why we allocated an additional $50 million. I think that's really critical, just to put in context, $1.4 billion every single year to make sure our schools are maintained and our air systems are at a high standard. But we've also put new money on the table to respond to that concern. They've also asked, just for continued support overall, and we have signaled successively through this process. We've increased investments at Toronto. Really, over the course of the past weeks, we've increased expenditure for Toronto significantly, Toronto Public and Catholic. But to be fair, every board in the province of Ontario under the Premier's leadership is getting more funding because we recognize it's going to be a challenge for all of us. So we're going to continue to be there for Toronto. We're working closely with them. We just had a call with all the chairs yesterday, including with Chair Martino. I mean, look, we're going to do whatever we can for our boards, and we're going to continue to be there for our boards, especially as challenges emerge in the fall. I am pleased when you compare Ontario's response to any province. We are spending more. We have new elements like nursing and testing that uniquely position Ontario to be responsive to any challenges. And so we're going to continue to listen to public health. This plan was endorsed by the Chief Medical Officer, and as the evidence emerges and we need to do more, we will be there for our boards.
Last question.
Your final question comes from Laura Stone with the Globe and Mail. Please go ahead.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, Premier.
How's it going?
I wanted to ask, how are you?
Good.
I wanted to ask about the contact tracing app, with Quebec reportedly saying it will not ask its citizens to use this. What do you make of Quebec's position, and are you going to try to convince Premier Legault to reverse this?
Yeah, I'm gonna, like I always say, I think the world of Premier Legault, and I'm gonna have him actually over for dinner, and I think it's in a week or so, in 2 weeks. Can't quite remember, but I'm gonna ask him what his method behind the madness is, per se. And we need to download this. But he might have a good answer. So I can't speak for Premier Legault, but I will ask him. And I know over 2 million people have downloaded it. I think that's pretty good, because when you look at apps in other regions, they don't get a real uptick from a lot of people. But when they told me it's over 2 million people and growing, I thought, boy, that's pretty good. Because you can't set the expectations so high on these apps, because some people don't feel comfortable. But I think it's pretty good. That's 2 million more people than we wouldn't have had with the notification. So I encourage everyone to download it, and I think it's a good tool, and it's private as well.
Follow up.
Are you concerned, though, that this could impact people in Ontario if Quebec residents aren't being encouraged to download it? And as other provinces wait to see how Ontario does, do you think it's ready to debut in other regions across Canada now?
I think so. I always have to be concerned as we open up travel around the country and people are coming in from Quebec and vice versa. I think it's just important. Just do it, and it protects everyone. It helps everyone out. I don't think it's a big deal. I know some people are worried about the privacy, but we've been assured by the provincial technology group and along with the folks that put it together, that privacy is number one. So I'd download it, and I think it just benefits everyone. You're helping your neighbors, you're helping your family. So let's just do it. And I'll have a good conversation with Francois, and I'll make sure I get back to you once I get the answer off Francois.
Right. Thank you, everyone.
Okay, thanks everyone. Have a good day.